Coming up on Theater Talk.
My Fair Lady, depending on how you see the ending, spoiler alert, she returns after, what some people today might call harassment and abuse, to Henry Higgins, and basically has a line that reads as very submissive.
Unless they change it back to Shaw's original.
Well, they're not going to do that because they can't really go back to Shaw's original.
Why not? And she leaves.
I think the Alan J. Lerner estate might have something to say about that.
This episode has been adopted by Chappie and Melissa Morris. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins, and joining me this week is my co-host, Jesse Green, co-chief theater critic of the New York Times.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Jesse. We are here for our season preview. Jesse, will you introduce our expert guests?
Oh, well, I don't have any of those. But the people I can introduce are our friend Patrick Pacheco, who has just finished a book about the 100-year history of the American Theater Wing.
Yes.
And is also a writer for the LA Times and many, many other places.
Yep.
Welcome.
Good
and
to be here.
Michael, you call yourself a columnist for something called, what is it, newnownnext.com?
I also have a last name.
Michael Musto.
He is Musto, and also he is a Glam Award winner.
And I would say, in a way, you don't need your last name.
All that matters is how excited I am about the new season.
And moving on, we come to Elisabeth Vincentelli, who is a contributor to the New York Times and the New Yorker, and is the one of the three-headed Hydra monster co-heads of a great new podcast called Three on the Aisle.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, and we won't even
Especially
name
the
who the
Hydra
others
part.
are. Yeah, okay.
Totally spot on.
And Adam Feldman, who is the critic and editor for theater at Time Out New York.
That is right.
Welcome, everybody. It's a strange little season we've got to look forward to, and little might be the operative word.
On Broadway, it's
on Broadway, anyway. It seems to me to have not as many shows as we're used to. April, which is often a kind of blizzard in spring of new huge openings, is just sort of a moderate little snowfall.
But the good news is they're mostly revivals and adaptations of films.
And that's good news because...
Jukebox shows.
Yes.
Because I'm being sardonic.
Well, it's true. Among Broadway plays, I think there's only one new play. And that would, why don't we start with that? That would be Harry Potter.
And that is St. Joan.
Well, technically it's two new plays.
All right, so we get to count.
Yes.
But anyone here seen Harry Potter and the Cursed Child when it has been playing in London?
No.
What do we hear? What do we think about?
But it's long.
Well,
It's long.
It's a two-parter.
It's two parts.
And-
It's Harry, all grown up and approaching middle age, I guess.
and tickets are being snapped up as fast as they can print them or send them out on
Well,
the
so
internet.
it's being sold in a new way, basically. Isn't that correct?
I think you have to join a lottery. Not a lottery, but you have to register to buy tickets.
Like,
Yeah, like the Springsteen did.
Yeah.
But this is a kind of a new trend to foil those nasty scalpers.
Yeah, and I think that shows like this one or like Springsteen that have very devoted followings and very passionate theater buying, audiences can push the envelope on this kind of thing and try to create communities of ticket buyers that will exclude those scalpers who are scooping up these tickets in mass amounts.
Anybody have any feelings against that as a trend?
No, I think
in
it's
the
a great
theater?
No, I think it's a good
No.
idea. Anything
Yeah.
that thwarts scalpers is a good idea.
Does it actually, however, limit access to ordinary people, or just make it?
Well,
slightly-
you have to know in advance. I mean, you have to. I mean, that's been true for a long time anyway. For people who want to get these tickets, is you have to know when they go on sale and when to call, and this creates another date for people to remember. But I think ultimately, it's certainly for the best for fans of these artists and for general theater goers.
This feels like the closest thing probably to an event, in addition to Angels in America, in that J.K. Rowling is involved. It's
Right.
a new take on Harry years later.
And they've rebuilt the horrible. Well, what is that theater called these days?
Now it's the Lyric again.
It's the
Yeah.
Lyric
Yeah.
again. Okay, it finally has a good name. But they're reducing the number of seats by hundreds, trying to make it a more intimate space while also housing a rather enormous production. I
Yes, that's
gather.
all I've heard is about the
I would love to see
spectacular
people
design.
get confused and say, oh, I'm going to get tickets for that two-parter, and they get tickets for Angels in America.
Well, what, okay, so
Two-parters of the...
so the
Or vice
prestige
versa.
two-parter of the season is Angels in America.
I would say they're both I mean, I would say Harry Potter.
Harry Potter was very well received in London, as
Yes.
was Angels in America, and it does seem a little strange to me. And you will find no bigger fan of Angels in America than right here.
And no one is as non-racist as you.
But I think that there's something a little weird to me about an American play of this nature that is so American coming over to us in its first big Broadway revival from an English production with a majoritarily English cast.
Yeah, but it has
But it was
Nathan
done-
Lane.
With Nathan Lane and now Lee Pace also.
One of the original productions of Angels in America was in London. If you remember, Ian McKellen at the Tonys, before it came in, was talking about it having played in London.
Yeah, it played London before it came to New
Before
York.
it came here originally. And there's nothing more relevant about it, especially when you have the President of the United States
if you
saying, where's my Roy?
But they
Culkin?"
didn't bring that
Remember,
production
we
to
also
Broadway.
saw a, was it Dutch, the Ivo van Hove
Yeah, there was-
version at BAM?
And there was an
was an
off-Broadway
off-Broadway
revival
version.
8 years ago or
Right,
so with Zachary Quinto.
I don't
And-
have a
and
problem
Billy
with
Porter
that
was
being a
terrific.
British production. I mean, I think the rest of the world is used to seeing Americans everywhere, so it's good for us to get a little taste
And
of
we're fairly used to seeing Brits here.
No, but I
Boy,
do wonder
are we.
how often is there a big West End staging of a major modern
Well, there was a revival
British
of
play with
Green
an
Girls
American
in London.
No, but
which
a
might
big-
come to
but a
Broadway,
modern
which
British
also had
play.
American actors as
a
well.
modern
Well,
British play
like
in
what?
the West End with an American
I
cast.
think right there, oh, well, no.
That's what I mean. It's a strange
No.
thing.
Well, in any case, it's coming.
Well, we're reviving travesties. Is it an American
Oh, God.
revival or a Broadway or a London
I
revival?
think they're bringing it from London, but with a mostly new
Oh,
cast.
you
But a
win.
mostly new cast of partly English.
it's actually going to be an entirely Canadian cast in honor of you.
Another hybrid.
But going back to Angels in America, we should be mentioning that Nathan Lane is playing Roy Cohn in a performance that drew enormous raves in London and seems like a delicious match of star and role. And
Andrew
somebody
Garfield.
in
Andrew-
the news right now. Also,
Yeah, and Andrew Garfield.
And
will be
Andrew
playing,
Garfield.
Joe. the
I'm very
woman.
interested in that Nathan Lane performance because I think the British audiences do not have the baggage
about Roy Cohn,
regard
you mean?
but both Roy Cohn and Nathan
Nathan
Lane
Lane.
that we do have. No. But we see both Roy Cohn and Nathan Lane in a very different manner than they would, I would think. So I'm very curious about that performance in particular and comparing it to the raves that he
Well, in
got.
the original, Ron
And-
Liebman was brilliant, and so was Stephen Spinella in the
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield role of Prior Walter. And the two-part production was galvanizing. I mean, it was two separate plays that just turned everything upside down because it was so powerful and so of its time.
And you know, the performance that I most remember from that original production is actually Joe Mantello as Lewis.
Yeah.
And I wish that he acted more, but he is directing a lot, including, I believe, Three Tall Women
Three Tall
and
Women.
The Boys in the Band. This coming in
Well,
the
the Boys
next
in the
few months.
Band won't open until after the end of the season.
Right, technically, right after the
Technically, yes.
cutoff.
And we're very technical here. So you may not mention.
But I'm very excited about Three Tall Women as
Oh my
well.
God, who would
yeah.
be?
You know,
So Three Tall Women is the Edward Albee play that kind of revived his career after maybe 2 decades of what some critics called stagnation, and is now for the first time going to be seen on Broadway.
Yeah, with Laurie Metcalf coming, probably Oscar-winning Laurie Metcalf, and Alison Peel as well, and Glenda Jackson.
Alison.
Glenda Jackson. I keep saying to the publicist, let's have Three Tall Women. Well, I can't be blasé about Glenda Jackson. And he said, well, everybody seems to be so agog about Glenda Jackson.
Well-
Former fabulous actress and member of British
Former?
Parliament.
No, she just did King Lear.
Yes.
it's been 30 years since she's been
Yeah.
on Broadway, I think, since Macbeth, you know.
Well, it is definitely event casting.
He thought
Yes.
you wanted
Yeah.
three of the Go-Go's.
But
It's one of those great Edward Albee, like, what's really going on here? These
Yeah,
are the same
yeah.
women, they're caretakers for each other, and yet they're three shades of the same person.
Very
Are they
powerful.
doing that thing with this title too, where they put his name in front of it?
well,
Like
Unbelievable.
Edward
Edward
Albee
Albee's
is Three Tall Women.
well, it's
This would
an
be Neil
apostrophe
Simon. Neil
S.
Simon.
I know, but it's
You can
misreadable.
interpret it as is, but I
Edward
think it's
Albee's
meant to
the
be
goat.
possessive.
And it's based
Edward
on,
Albee's who's afraid of
And
Virginia
it
Woolf.
bumps him up the alphabetical list.
It's
Yes.
true.
and it's based on that monster of a mother that he had, Frances
Yeah,
Albee.
and it is the only play that pretty clearly has an autobiographical character in it, meaning the young man in the play who I believe has one line. It's
Yeah.
interesting how he sidelines himself, and he's sort of the punching bag for all three of the women. who are in fact, perhaps, as you were
And really,
saying, one woman.
The oldest woman is the juiciest part, the Glenda Jackson role. Myra Carter was absolutely spectacular
Yeah.
in the original.
And isn't she lying down for most of the time, or am I?
Yes, it's a remarkably forgiving play, too. It seems like he came to terms with Frances in that play.
Frances, his mother. Well, while we're talking about revivals of classic American plays, we might as well move on to another play starring a possible Academy Award winner. That's The Iceman Cometh with Denzel Washington, who was just nominated
Right.
for an Oscar.
I think he won 2 in the past.
Yes, but I mean, again,
yeah.
this
Well, he's
season-
not getting it this year.
Confidently.
Well,
Heard it here first. And what do we think of another production of The Iceman Cometh rather soon after a major one with Nathan Lane in the leading role at BAM a few years ago?
Well, but that was at BAM and for fairly limited. No, but
At BAM.
no, I don't. I mean, just it didn't get seen by that many people. I mean, it was out in Brooklyn and it only ran for a few weeks. This is a much bigger production, and the cast that they have assembled, I will give it to Scott Rudin. When they commit to assembling one of these big casts, like at the front page, or and now this, every person in this cast in these small roles is an actor that I love watching.
Tammy Blanchard.
What's that?
We love Tammy Blanchard.
Tammy
Yeah.
Blanchard.
Oh, I love Tammy Blanchard.
Bill Irwin,
David Morse and
David Morse.
Yeah, I mean, just a terrific cast across the board, and so that really makes me very excited to see what they can do with it. And George C. Wolfe is a great Broadway director.
But let's talk about this play as opposed to, say, Julius Caesar, which was another classic that Denzel Washington did in New York and made a success out of. This is a tough play for Broadway now, don't you think?
Very much so. It's long. It's what, 4 hours, unless they're
And not in
cut it.
2 parts.
And not in 2 parts.
That's where it made its mistake.
But it's long and repetitive. You know.
Listen, I think we're talking about audiences that are now used to binging like 16 hours of Game of Thrones in a weekend.
But from their own beds.
It's true, but I think it's raised the stakes in terms of endurance and bladder control. Certainly hope so.
Yeah,
No, look, Denzel Washington could do whatever he wants.
Yes,
He has
that's
carte
right.
blanche on Broadway. He sells
Yeah.
tickets, and I'm
I
sure
just,
he.
I wish
They
it
probably
would-
said, "What do you want to do?"
Well, this
I
was
We
wish,
just had a long
I
day's
wish
journey.
once in a
Now we're
while,
gonna have this.
I just wish once in a while Denzel Washington would say, you know what, I'm dying to do a new play. I'm dying to get a new playwright on the boards and give him or her some exposure. I love Resident in the Sun, but I'm gonna do a new Brandon
Well,
Jacobs
that's, of
Jenkins
course,
play.
taking
Yeah.
a much bigger chance, or would feel like taking
Of course,
a much bigger chance.
but this is like, if Denzel Washington doesn't bring people in, who's going
Right.
to? Like, I think it's almost a duty. He's done like 5 classics, 4 or 5. Okay, well, maybe for the next one, just, I don't know, go out on a limb a little bit, maybe.
I think
Do a
audiences-
Lynn. I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you love to see Denzel Washington in a Lynn Nottage play? Or, I mean, I would love to see that.
We have a bunch of productions opening this spring, and all of them, or except for Harry Potter, which is its own thing, they're all revivals, and it's safer for producers too. But I think that I agree. I think that audiences would be willing to take that chance,
Yes,
more willing to
with-
take that chance. With someone like Denzel Washington behind it. That said, I'm excited for Iceman Cometh, even though it is a long and repetitious play. I think that people for 4 hours, you're stuck there, but there's an accomplishment. There's a sense of accomplishment that you feel after making it through the 4 hours. And I think that a lot of audiences, I mean, everyone talks about how nice it is now that there are so many short plays you can go in and out, and it's only 75 minutes, it's only 90 minutes.
That's
I think,
true.
but also, I think that some people go to those plays and feel a little cheated at the amount of money that they're paying and the amount of product they're getting for it. And even when I like those plays, there's something a little skimpy about them. And so if there's something nice about a big old-fashioned meal, and Iceman is
With
certainly
like
that.
25
and
people
a
in the
prescient-
cast, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and a prescient, lengthy look at the drug addiction problem in this culture. I mean, he was so ahead of his time, Eugene O'Neill, I have to say.
Also ahead of his
Yeah.
time as an addict himself.
Yes, that's what I mean. He's so ahead of yeah. So I mean, it's such the basic classic American statement that we all
Well,
can learn
it
from.
does have a certain amount of transcendence
Yeah.
that is dependent on its bulk, including its repetitiousness.
Now, out of curiosity, just to be superficial and talk about Tony nominations, Andrew Garfield and Nathan Lane, would they both be lead actor?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have Denzel as a possible
Yes.
nominee. It's going to be a very good category, I would say.
Yeah.
And we have Lobby Hero, which we haven't talked
So
about.
Lobby Hero is a revival of the Kenneth Lonergan play, and it will be opening the new home of the Second Stage Theater on Broadway at the Helen Hayes, which is
Right.
always a wonderful event when a beautiful theater is rescued from decrepitude, and that was a pretty decrepit theater.
It hasn't been that decrepit.
Oh, come on.
Come on, it's small. It's cozy.
It's a wonderful.
It's cozy for your
It's the
needs.
smallest house on Broadway,
Yeah.
and it's a wonderful.
I think
house for this.
it's a great space for them, and they've committed to doing plays by living American playwrights in that space.
Yeah, they're going to do young Jean Lee's Straight
Right.
White Man.
So they're starting with a revival, but a revival of a relatively recent play, and then they're moving on to a new American play. And I think, I mean, it's a small theater. It's under 600 seats, which for Broadway is very small.
It's actually just going to be a lobby.
I think it's a terrific new development for Broadway.
And second stage gets a presence on Broadway.
Yes, which they've been wanting for years.
And that's because they can get Tony nominations that they want a
Yep.
presence on Broadway?
Yes, and it also, you need a flagship if you're going to spend all your money on things that are not necessarily going to bring in the cash. So the idea is to make some money there and spend it on the newer writers too. But what about the play? Anyone remember the original production?
I saw a revival off Broadway, and I liked it. But this is an interesting cast. It's Michael Cera, who was in the last Kenneth Lonergan revival on Broadway, and
Chris Evans.
yeah,
Chris Evans.
and Chris Evans, Chris Evans, who is a handsome fellow.
Well, that's all we need to say about that.
So speaking of handsome fellows, let's go to the musicals and talk about all
Oh,
the handsome
them.
fellows.
We
Yes.
should just to close it off though.
Okay.
There's also a new production, a revival of St. Joan, with Condola Rashad. And have we missed any of the other? And a revival of Children of a Lesser God, the Mark Medoff play that was seen in Connecticut recently. And
It was the 1980 Tony Award winner.
right, okay.
By Mark Medoff.
And I saw that out of town, and it was very fine performances, I would say, particularly from this newcomer, Lauren Ridloff, who plays the young deaf woman who's the center of the action. Now, moving along to musicals, it's the opposite situation in musicals. They're almost all new, except for a dueling
They are?
pair of revival.
Well,
There's
Well-
one.
say that.
Oh, come on! Escape to Margaritaville. I mean, depends on what. Okay,
Right,
what
so
is
this is
new?
the thing.
What is new?
They-
All right.
They're new, but in two cases, you've got Escape to Margaritaville and Summer, the Donna Summer musical, and
Right.
both of those are
Jukebox.
jukebox musicals. You've got Rocktopia, which
Isn't
a-
even
God
a,
knows, a
isn't even a
hybrid.
thing.
A fusion concert
can't-
of
We
don't
classical
really know.
and
I
rock
cannot
songs.
wait.
and there's revivals of
So if you
of
like some
Carousel.
Journey with your Mozart,
Well, wait, and
Go to
then there's
Rochester.
Revivals
there's
of Carousel
Frozen-
and My
no,
Fair Lady, and then there's two new musicals, but both of them based on very popular films.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they are?
They are Frozen and Mean Girls.
So why don't we start with Mean Girls, since I think this is the new musical that most people are quite interested in. Has anyone seen it in Washington?
No. But,
Has anyone seen the movie?
yes.
Did
I
anyone
just- I
ever
just-
hear
yes.
of Tina Fey?
Yeah.
Anyone away?
funny movie, and she's involved in the show. It should be a funny show, but
Good
we'll
cast.
see. Everybody wants that audience, that Anastasia
Yeah.
audience, the Wicked audience.
Is there
that
enough
the
of
thing?
that audience to?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a lot.
There's a lot of
Because
that,
that
of
audience comes with their parents.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of tickets.
I am cautiously
It's-
very excited about Mean Girls. Tina Fey is, I think, really just at the top of her game and has been for 20 years. And her husband, Jeff Richmond, has written the music. And Nell Benjamin is the lyricist, and she is very smart and very capable. And she knows how to write this kind of thing.
Yeah.
She co-wrote Legally Blonde, which
I love
which is
Legally Blonde.
underrated and which really does
Absolutely.
appeal to that audience.
the
that they're
lyrics are
going for
superb.
again here. And the lyrics
Legally Blonde is
they're much better than they
absolutely-
need to be, and no one
Yeah.
gave it credit for that.
And they've got the
Absolutely.
hottest director in Casey Nichols.
Yes.
Director and choreographer.
Yes.
So
You can't get sort of.
there, we've welcomed it with open arms. But
And Ashley Park.
and
Oh,
and
Ashley Park.
She's in it.
This,
She's
this
my
show is
favorite
going to
new
throw
actress.
Ashley Park.
Ashley Park,
Ashley Park. Remember that name, Ashley Park.
She was in K-pop.
And Taylor
She
Lautner.
was in K-pop.
Lots of good people.
Taylor
And
Lautner,
Carrie
wonderful,
Butler.
great cast.
and the other semi-new-ish quasi musical that you mentioned in that pairing is Frozen, based on the Disney musical, and latterly the Hans Christian Andersen terrifying Christian moral tale.
I think you're the only one here who saw it, right?
I saw it in Denver,
Denver.
and it was a show in Denver.
It's very well put, Jesse Green of the New York Times.
How smart was Disney to get Michael Grandage and his team to
Well, you know,
do this?
Disney always, well, no, let me rephrase that. Disney sometimes goes for the high price spread. And he had a concept going in. I'm not sure that the concept is something that I actually saw on stage, because there's a way in which these stories and the Disney imprint on them takes over whatever concept you might have about the material. So it's Frozen. It's, and in terms of little girl response, they were ecstatic, at least until, the middle of the second act, when they started to get crabby.
Number one, how many little girls? I guess there's a lot of little girls out there whose parents have the money to get these tickets. But the other thing is, would we say that Julie Taymor had transcended the Disney experience with Lion King, and that was its genius?
It's hard to say transcended when it was the first.
Yeah.
No, but
Well,
you
Beauty and the
weren't
Beast.
looking at
Between the original source
you
material
weren't looking
and
at
what she
Disney
came up with.
characters except
Yeah.
for Pumbaa and Timba or whatever it was.
Yeah, but nobody's ever been able to do that since, and they've tried
Yeah.
to
Oh
do
my
it.
God.
They've tried to bring in these people to bring a completely new Julie Taymor-ish vision, and it hasn't really succeeded. The ones that they've been most successful with, other than The Lion King, are the ones that seem the most like a Disney stage show, like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. And the ones that have failed are the ones where they're trying to, like Little Mermaid and Tarzan, are the ones where they're trying to do something completely different. So this one seems to be going in the.
I would say in Denver it was in the middle, and you know, they're famous for actually working on their shows. They don't just leave them the way they were, the way some producers
Well,
do.
I hear
So-
they've gotten the Iceman to Cometh. And make it more frozen.
Actually,
Oh my God, the
they really do
O'Neill
need that
Frozen
because
crossover we've been waiting
one of the
for.
things that wasn't really what you wanted to be in a Disney musical called Frozen was the special effects. The you know, she just kind of went like this, and a little cartoon of ice showed up
Oh,
on this.
God.
Oh,
They
well.
need to get a
like
little.
the little
Yeah.
ship in Titanic. Remember that?
Yes.
Does anyone remember
Sounds a
the
little like
ship?
Charlie and
But-
the
but-
Chocolate Factory when they wheeled on the.
We don't have a lot more time for the Broadway part of our discussion, so we should talk about the dueling big revivals.
Yes,
My Fair Lady
and
and
starting
Carousel.
with my second favorite musical in the whole world, My Fair Lady. Is
Well,
coming
that
back.
begs the
Yes.
question.
Yeah,
What is your favorite
Leave it in
musical
this-
in the whole world?
right. Carousel's swell, but My Fair Lady. So, but it is a dueling because it'll be how the productions are made. That My Fair Lady is being directed by Bartlett Sher at Lincoln Center, and Carousel is being directed by Jack O'Brien with the wonderful
Joshua Henry.
Josh Henry.
Josh
Jesse
Henry,
Mueller.
who was fantastic in the Scottsboro Boys.
Well, my
and in
favorite
Hamilton.
Eliza Doolittle
Right.
was
Yeah.
Marnie Nixon.
Yeah.
The ghost.
Well, okay, so that's the controversy about this current My
Right.
Fair Lady. You want to talk about who's playing Eliza? And
Well, Lauren Ambrose, who's not 21 years old, but who cares, is playing Eliza, and Bartlett Sher believes in her. Let's face it, he tried to mount a production of Funny Girl with Lauren Ambrose. That didn't take. No one saw it coming until
Yeah.
the rumors really started escalating that he was going to choose her for Eliza.
Well, I believe in him, and I believe in her too. I've seen her on stage a number of times, and I thought she was a really beautiful and memorable Juliet in the Clerk
that
some
was
years
such
ago.
a
And
great
you know, people know her from 6 Feet Under and whatnot, and she's very good on those things. But she's actually a very accomplished stage actor, and I bet if they've cast her in this, I bet she can sing.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard her sing, but I have absolute faith in Lincoln Center.
Now, the Henry
Yeah.
Higgins is a bit, you know, they've gotten an actor who we know from Downton Abbey.
no, from
Henry.
the Queen.
And
No, but he was also
Oh,
in
who was
Downton
he on
Abbey.
Downton Abbey?
He rescued the
Yes,
spinster
he
sister.
married the frumpy sister at the end of the series.
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
like that plot.
Well, but the point is that, but he's not a mature middle-aged man. He's a young.
Nor is the character written that way.
Yeah.
Is it not?
No, he's not supposed to be
Oh, all
an
right.
ancient, you know,
All right,
single
not Rex
man.
Harrison.
But also, Doolittle is Norbert Leo Butz, who's only a
Yeah.
few
Right.
years older than
No, they've sort of squashed the age range. It's true, but you know,
And what does it matter?
when this works, who cares? And when it doesn't, you can blame that and a million other things. The material is strong, and as you said, who doesn't want to see what Bartlett Sher has?
Oh, and if we want old people, Diana Rigg is in this.
Yes.
Yes.
She, you know,
That is
takes up-
luxury casting.
That's
I mean,
all
she
we need.
doesn't even
No.
have that much to do, but
Yeah.
it's,
No, but-
it's,
oh.
But Carousel has Jesse Mueller and the previously stated Josh Henry, who I saw in Hamilton, in Chicago, and he was just amazing. Aaron Burr, wonderful.
But that's, you know, that's risky casting in the optics of this casting. And I'm surprised that they went there. I'm very curious to
mean
see
that
how
he's
it's going to play out.
African-American?
Yeah, he's African American, but it's not just that. It's that the Carousel already is controversial because Billy beats up on Julie. And so to cast that with an interracial couple really seems to be pushing that particular problematic.
Well, some people are talking
dynamic.
about that issue in Carousel and in My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady, depending on how you see the ending, spoiler alert, she returns after, you know, what some people today might call harassment and abuse to Henry Higgins, and basically has a line that reads as very submissive.
But unless they
traditionally.
change it,
Well,
unless they change it back to Shaw's original.
well,
ending
they're not
for
going to do
Pygmalion.
that because they can't really go back to Shaw's original.
Why not? And she leaves.
I think the Alan J. Lerner estate
All right.
might have
I-
something to say about that. But anyway, I'm quite curious as to how those directors are going to work with those very live issues.
In fairness, though, if the Alan J. Lerner estate did not have a problem with the revisal of On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever, then I don't think that they're going to
And
have
what a
a problem.
smash hit that was.
Well, on that,
That's the kind of estate I like, like just send a check. Just do whatever you do.
I actually
Whatever
think
you-
these casting ideas show that we have moved forward and that people can play people.
Yeah.
That's what it's
regardless
saying.
of age,
I like to
regardless
think
of
that
race.
too, and
Yeah.
I think that's certainly what they intend, but I think that's also what the producers of Great Comet intended, and that didn't go as well for them. So it'll be interesting to see how that works.
So let's come back in a little bit and talk about Off-Broadway, which is really exciting.
We'll come back in a week and talk about Off-Broadway. Will you all come back in a week and talk about Off-Broadway?
Can we wear the
Sure
same
thing.
clothes?
Yes, wear the same clothes, please. All right.
Yes, and have the same degree of unshavenness.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
thank you so much, Patrick Pacheco, author of the new 100 Years of the American Theater Wing that has a great title I can't remember. Michael Musto, Glam Award winner and NewNowNext.com columnist. Elisabeth Vincentelli of Three on the Aisle podcast, The New Yorker and The New York Times. Adam Feldman of Time Out New York and the president of the New York Drama Critics Circle. And Jesse Green, my co-host. Thank you so
I think
much.
Susan
What?
did
No
that
new
great.
credit for
I think
me?
Susan did that
Yes, he-
fantastically.
I
first theater
defer.
event of the
You should
season.
do all the introductions.
Oh, no. See you next
That's how you
week.
get out of it.
Thanks, Susan.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you